Hi drama queens! Today's episode question is, how pissed would you be if your husband brought up divorce before you had the chance to? Theoretically, you should be happy since both of you are on the same page, right? So how come Songyong is so out of sorts after Jiho proposed that they get divorced? Are you ready to see her unravel in this episode? So get comfy everybody, and let's binge! Episode 2 starts with Hae-Jin, the rich kid turned rising actor. He's taking part in an interview right now with a famous director who's invited him to act in an upcoming movie. But Hae-Jin is having a terrible time recording the interview. For one thing, the public media is in a fast decline, and in order to attract viewership, the old geezer interview keeps badgering Hae-Jin about his personal life and relationship status. For another, the director also did him dirty. Hae-Jin learns during the interview that the movie is intended to throw shade at his family's corporation, the Kang Group. Since he tries hard to hide his connection to the corporation, he couldn't even say anything to defend his family or decline the movie partnership on screen. The movie's promo goes online and it causes great tension between him and his family. This kid is incredible. Did he really accept a movie without even reading the script? Whenever he has a bad day, Hae-Jin will look at the security monitor of his kitty lounging at home and talks to her as if she's the reincarnation of his first love. Speaking of his first love, Songyong is lounging at home and chatting with Woo about their future plans. Songyong is wrapping up her career as a fake wife, and they're still planning to go to Canada. However, she can't help but feel disappointed and angry that Jiho divorced her first. She lied to Woo that she was the one who initiated the divorce, but Jiho couldn't accept parting with her and is forcing her to finish the last 27 days of the contract before she can leave. In reality, she was the one who refused to end the contract, stating that she takes promises very seriously and she will finish the last 27 days. While exercising, she turns on the TV and sees news of a corporation, Ina Group, setting up a foundation to aid disadvantaged communities. Seeing this, her face turns serious. On the other side, Hae-Jin gets called to his older brother's office. His brother wants him to do the advertising for the company's condo project. Hae-Jin politely declines, just like he's declined all the projects involving his family before. As they're arguing about this, his brother's secretary comes in and shares the news that he's found the woman that his brother is looking to hire, and she used to work for the Ina Group. Overhearing this, Hae-Jin looks concerned or confused. We are reintroduced to Miss Yu, Songyong's debt collector who disappeared in the middle of episode 1. We see her in a small rundown room with brand name bags and clothes scattered all over the dingy place. Before you think she's poor, we see her flipping through bank books filled with numbers followed by lots of zeros. Pretty much nothing makes sense because then her landlord comes to collect her overdue rent and she throws her one of her brand name bags to shut her up and closes the door in her face. Then Miss Yu gets a call and goes out to a fancy hotel for a meeting. There she passes by Songyong, who doesn't notice her passing because Songyong's been very out of it due to her recent divorce from Jiho. Miss Yu's meeting is with reps from Ina Group, which doesn't make much sense again, because they're giving her money to ensure that she's living comfortably, but she doesn't seem impressed and blames her current situation on Songyong. After she leaves, gossip from the Ina employees reveal that apparently Miss Yu wanted to be a mistress and move up in ranks, but her plan was foiled, which resulted in her being kicked out from the group. On Jiho's side, a bearded guy shows up and accuses him for being a selfish bastard because he has cut all ties with his mom and aunt. He continues to say that he needs something from Jiho, but Jiho warns him that if he continues to harass him, he will take legal actions against him. At home, Jiho is frustrated, not just because of the random stranger that's shown up, but also because of the divorce papers in front of him. He finds himself thinking of Songyong often, and all of a sudden, he rips the divorce papers in half. Songyong is also frustrated and tries to drown her feelings in wine. Woo watches this with interest and teases her again on whether she feels sad about splitting up with Jiho. She denies it stubbornly, saying that she's just a stickler for abiding by contracts and she's just very professional. In her memory, Jiho was never a romantic man, and whenever things got intimate, Jiho would cleverly dissolve the romantic atmosphere. So she doesn't really get why she's obsessing over such a cold guy either. Having had too much to drink, Songyong really lets loose. First, she starts using her rock climbing license to climb up her window, and then she starts playing her lovely instruments in the middle of the night, ending it all off with a solo karaoke session. Finally, Woo drags her to bed before the neighbors kick them both out. At this time, Jiho is studying the death of the woman from the first episode. Somehow, he's gotten his hands on the crime scene photos and is waving around a knife to prove to the audience that he's a super sketchy person. He gets a call, and before he leaves, he throws the knife directly onto the photo, stabbing the woman squarely in the chest. Songyong is on her way to Jiho's house again, while calling her bestie Woo. Woo starts to rehash the stories from last night, and Songyong stops him by saying, "Don't you know you aren't supposed to make fun of a drunk person's humiliating actions?" She doesn't realize that Woo isn't trying to make fun of her, he just wants her to realize her true feeling. He reminds her that over the years, she's turned down many lucrative job offers from mega-rich men just so that she can keep her Monday, Wednesday, Friday appointments with Jiho. Not wanting to admit it still, Songyong quickly hangs up the phone. Today is also moving day for Hae-Jin. In the chaos, his cat runs away and is picked up by Jiho. Hae-Jin is in shock because his cat allows a total stranger to pick her up even though she hates being touched by him and he's her owner. Jiho and Hae-Jin go to the elevator together since his cat refuses to leave Jiho's arm, and they run into Songyong. Songyong has a flash of recognition when she looks at Hae-Jin, but ultimately only remembers him as a celebrity, which makes him sad because he's never gotten over his love for her. How secretive was this first love of his? Hae-Jin notices the wedding rings on Songyong and Jiho's fingers and tries to get Jiho to reveal more about their relationship. After Jiho goes back to his apartment, Hae-Jin starts thinking through the events of the day. In the elevator, he calls his cat Jamie, which is Songyong's English name, but Songyong did not react at all. When he tries to get information out of Jiho, he learns that Jiho does not know Songyong's English name either. His conclusion is that Songyong is actively hiding her past, and the relationship between her and Jiho is suspicious. Back at Jiho's apartment, the air between him and Songyong is more stiff than ever. They both have something to say, but both do not have the ability to articulate. The dinner ends in silence, and Songyong leaves empty-handed. She bumps into Hae-Jin in the elevator again, and he notices that she doesn't have her ring on anymore. He's confused about what this all means. Jiho is struggling after Songyong leaves. He keeps hearing a woman's voice in his head asking to break up. Songyong is also struggling. She asks Woo to go clubbing with her, but ends up running into a group of perverts. She defends herself beautifully and proceeds to teach them a lesson in Muay Thai. But she's outnumbered after all, and eventually they get the upper hand. At this moment, a dark shadow appears and easily defeats the entire group of useless men. He is none other than Jiho. He helps Songyong find and put on her missing heels and says, "Baby, let's go home. I'm hungry." Songyong's heart almost stopped beating. And here's where she wakes up. And oh man, I was fooled as well. Back to Miss Yu in her scary little room. She's actually trying to hang herself when she receives a call from Hae-Jin's brother and goes to meet him at his office. Hae-Jin is home watching the news about the woman who was murdered when he heard some commotion outside and goes to check it out. He sees Jiho practicing combat moves with a knife in the stairwell and gets freaked out. His noise scares Jiho away, so he goes down to investigate. He finds a photo that Jiho left behind of the woman who was murdered. That night, Hae-Jin can't sleep because of how scared he is. The next morning, Jiho continues his life like nothing's happened. We learn that he's actually very infatuated with Songyong, but he knows she's always wanted to go abroad, so when he accidentally saw a plane ticket to Canada in her purse, he decided to proactively bring up the topic of divorce. Songyong finally pulls herself together and dolls herself up to see Jiho. She tells him that the next time they eat together will be their last, and then it will be time to say goodbye. However, when that day actually comes, another incident unfolds. Songyong runs into Hae-Jin in the elevator again, who is very worried that Jiho will hurt her. He follows her all the way to Jiho's house, all the while asking her loads of questions and tries to warn her that her husband is a psycho. At this moment, Jiho's door opens, and all he says is, "Honey, I'm hungry." Just like in the dream. Songyong's heart skips a beat at this. This episode continues to paint Jiho as a serial killer or sexual predator, but clearly that's not going to be the reality, right? My random guess is that he may have experienced a death in his past, maybe a girlfriend or a fiancé, so he's on the lookout for the killer who's going to commit his next murder. As to why he's practicing combat moves, could he want to take the law into his own hands? Do you guys have a theory about what this is really about? Miss Yu's storyline is making me super uncomfortable. Is she a bad person or a sad person? Maybe both? Hopefully we'll learn more about her and the two conglomerates in the future episodes. So remember to subscribe and thank you for your support. Bye!